Hey everybody, how are you doing? How about that win? Uh-oh, we've got some audio things popping in different computers. I am your host, Peter Brown. This is FMTV Weekly. We're a little bit late this week, but of course we had to be with everybody, I'm sure, wanting to watch, our U.S. national team play. I am flying solo today, so I need your help in the chat tonight. Ed is in Tennessee, I believe it is. He is in Tennessee right now, enjoying a little bit of time away from Florida. And so he was going to try to make it to the show tonight, but, he's on vacation. I mean, it's not expected to jump in. So, I am flying solo. So, you had a solo show recently of Ed, and he probably did a better job than what I'm going to do here tonight. But I am happy that you guys are here with me to join in this potentially this train wreck right here. So thanks so much for joining. And before we get started, though, let's do our usual thank you to our sponsor, Caneswear. Go to Caneswear in Davie. They've got the best selection of Inter Miami gear that you can find in town. They've got a whole wall, as you can see in this picture, of Inter Miami stuff. New stuff is on the way. Can't wait for some of the new shirts and that new 3/4 zip that we saw being worn recently by the new coach and GM for Inter Miami. A little bit more pink, maybe a little brighter of a pink. So looking forward to that. Go to Caneswear in Davie, or if you can't make it to Davie, go online to caneswear.com and they can ship it to anywhere you're at. So there's that. Thank you, Caneswear. How y'all doing tonight? Let me know in the chat throughout the show if the camera gets a little bad quality or whatever. I'm trying something different. Since I have to look at the screen tonight a lot to look at your chats, I'm using a different camera so that I can look at the chats and it still looks like I'm looking at the screen as opposed to looking up above where my normal camera angle is. So I see we got let's go through our normal roll call, but normally Ed is handling this, but we've got, it looks like first one in saying TikTok is Footballer. Welcome, Footballer. Jose Velasquez joining in. Kevin Gonzalez logged on before 7, thinking it was the usual showtime, not realizing a later start. Let's get the show started. All right. Yeah, we debated earlier. We even put out a little Twitter poll. We debated a little earlier if we should do the show at 7, meaning you guys, I'm sure, are wanting to watch the U.S. national team game, even though it's a game that really meant nothing, but I'm sure you wanted to watch it anyway. So Baldwin is in here, and what's the main topic tonight? Peter at Disney again to watch the U.S. men's national team. Hey, look, just so you know, when I'm watching that game tonight, I didn't know where it was. I actually didn't even realize that it was on until I was flipping around on social media today, and then I saw that it was on, and that it's at Orlando. I even said to my daughter today, I was like, man, we could have gone to see this game. We could have been up there, but no. Stayed home, watched it on TV. One World, One Goal is in 7-zip, exactly. And let's see, who else is in here? It's Judge Dredd. Well, that was a whooping. Yeah, absolutely was. And let's see, who else do we have? I don't know what football. Oh, is that a countdown, Footballer? He was doing a countdown. It's time. All right, I got it. He was doing a countdown. Peter must be running on Portuguese time. Yeah, I mean, what was I, like 30 seconds late? I mean, it wasn't too late. And Eric Thomas is in here. Evening, gents. And let's see, Dan Destroyer. Why is he saying 9 a.m.? 9 p.m. 9:30 p.m. 9:30. And also we were doing a little bit later, thinking maybe Ed might be able to get in at a later time, with doing his personal stuff. And Boriculano is asking about the local boy Jonathan Lewis from South Plantation scoring 2 goals tonight. I did not know he was from South Plantation. How about that? He, if Inter Miami was moving and grooving a little earlier, he could have been an Academia player, right? Yeah. So, we could talk a little bit about that game. I don't think a whole lot to talk about. And guys, I need your help tonight. I need your help in the chat, driving the conversation as well. But there's not a lot to take away from this game. They did what they're supposed to. But just like they said, the announcer said, if they had only scored like 3 goals, we'd all be complaining that why didn't you destroy Trinidad and Tobago. So the fact that they scored 7, that's what they were supposed to do. It was cool to see a lot of young faces out there. A lot of people, total honesty, I haven't watched the U.S. men's national team game in a long time because, look, I cut my cable and I don't have a lot of these channels anymore. I actually signed up for a 7-day free trial of Fubo just so I could watch tonight's game. And then right after the game, I'm going to cancel it. So I just wanted to watch tonight's game, and I'm going to turn off that subscription because that's expensive. Does anybody do Fubo to watch their cable? It's like $65 a month. It's pretty crazy how expensive it is. But it gave me a 7-day free trial so I could watch the game. But I haven't watched a U.S. men's national team game in quite some time. So many young faces in there. And something I was thinking as I was watching that game, and as you keep hearing players getting announced, how many of those players went through the FC Dallas Academy. FC Dallas Academy is like the premier academy in MLS. It's the academy I'm going to say that Inter Miami wants to be, or wants to be better. Hey, Ed's watching. All right, Ed is in here. Sorry, kids, still out of town, out and about with the family. All right, no worries, Ed. Glad you jumped in, even if it's just for a second. Jose Velasquez says he uses DirecTV and Sling TV. Yeah, I've used Sling TV as well. It's definitely cheaper. But I don't think I'm going to get a free trial with Sling TV just because I've used it in the past. I've been a Sling customer. So, I don't think they're going to give me the free trial. And when you cut the cord, you do it so that you can save money. And then little by little, you start adding all these channels up, and then you're paying same amount that you paid when you had cable, if not more. And I'm trying my best not to do that. So anyways, 7-day free trial, watched it, good game. But again, something that and it kind of ties into what I wanted to talk about a little bit tonight is just the youth in that game, the youth in the academy. FC Dallas churns out quality player after quality player, a lot of them getting sold overseas. And now, Inter Miami, they've got 4 players that they've... Academy, 3 players from the academy, 1 player from Fort Lauderdale. 3 players that came up through the academy. And, our academy is still in its infancy. But these players, I guess impressed enough to, in their one season with Fort Lauderdale and the academy to make it up to the national to the first team. I keep thinking national team because of U.S., but they made it up to the top. Baldwin says exactly. You know who also built that Dallas Academy? Oscar Pereira, head coach of Orlando. Exactly. He's such a good coach. I wish we could have gotten him. How about, and thinking of Orlando, how about Daryl Dike getting out on the field? Their draft pick from last year. We got Robbie Robinson. They picked up Daryl Dike. Where's Robbie? Sounds like Orlando may have made the better pick there. Dike he didn't do much in the game, but he's there. Robbie Robinson's not. Our first round draft pick is not. Their first round draft pick is. Oscar is another good friend of ours, says one world, one goal. Yes, he is. But one thing I wanted to say. So, yes, exactly, Baldwin. DK is awesome, and Miami missed out because Miami could have picked him, and he's a big dude too. He's muscular. He can power some players off, hold them off a little bit. So that's good. But as I think about the youth that they sign, I guess we'll find out really in Inter Miami signed Edison Ascona, 17-year-old. He's a winger. Then Ian Frey, my boy from Coconut Creek. Coconut Creek native, 18 years old. And then previously they had signed Felipe Valencia. He's 15. So, clearly these guys are for depth. Doubtful they'll see a lot of playing time with the first team unless there's injuries. I would imagine they're going to spend most of their season back with Fort Lauderdale where they played last year. But we will see. What I'm looking forward to is, hang on a second, Bori Culano is saying that we have our own 15-year-old academy wonder kid from Colombia. Wonder kid. Yeah, let's see. Let's see how wonderful he is. I know we all got to see him a little bit with the Fort Lauderdale, and he showed well. But that's League One is completely different from MLS. So really, it'd be interesting to see how the skills translate. Ian Frey. I mean, he looked okay, and in Fort Lauderdale, he did okay. But I don't know if he's quite ready for prime time. Our defense was lacking in the year, so I don't know if he's the answer. So maybe he is in the future, but not quite yet. So thought we cut a lot of MLS players that MLS journeymen last year. From last year, we cut them. We sent them packing. Some of them were really good players. And instead of bringing in a bunch of other MLS replacements, we're bringing in our academy kids. That's good. It shows that there is a clear path to the pros, clear path to the Herons. So that's the good side. It really shows to these kids that you come play for Inter Miami and you can be in MLS and it could be your stepping stone to Europe or what have you. So that's good. But is Inter Miami just kind of like going cheap? Are they just signing a bunch of young players right now instead of some MLS quality players because they don't want to spend the money? They lost a bunch of money last year and they had nothing to show for it. So maybe let's invest in the youth. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that, guys? Here, Footballer is saying something. Let's read what Footballer saying. Good to hear about youngsters moving up on the squad, but really, how exciting is it really considering all the hype Beckham created about bringing high-profile footballers into this club? So, yeah, there was some hype, and I mean, is Gonzalo Higuain that kind of player that you were hoping for? Is that the hyped big name player? I don't think so. His younger brother Federico Higuain was re-signed, but now you don't hear Beckham harping on talking about the big name players as much. In all his interviews lately, it's all about youth. You saw the press conference last week, and it was all about youth. So that's clearly, I think, part of where they're going. Eric agrees with me. They are going cheap. Oh, hey, let me put this up here while we're talking. Normally, when Ed's here, I have a second to breathe, and I'll go and I'll be the show producer as well. So let's put up the phone number. So if you guys want to help me out and you want to leave a voicemail, please do. And we already have one voicemail here that we will go to in a few minutes. So if you have one, you want to join into the conversation, help guide the show a little bit, please. 786-474-4435. I can always use the help. So that's my concern. That's my concern is that they're going cheap. Now, at the same time, because look, how much time have they've only spent a season in the academy. It's not like you grew these kids from when they were 9 years old and they are now born and bred into the Inter Miami DNA, right? And that they're playing the Inter Miami style Heck, there is no Inter Miami DNA yet. That's why we made the changes. That's why they brought in the people they brought in. That's why Henderson is here, right? And that's why they brought in a new coach and things like that, because there was no DNA. Phil Neville talked a lot about bringing in the DNA. So these guys are not really brought up into the Inter Miami way from when they were real young. These are guys that are just 1 year playing with the Inter Miami team, and maybe they're super talented. Maybe they deserve to be there. But I'm thinking, and I think I may have said this on the show before, but wait a minute. One world, one goal. You're watching PBS. What's on PBS right now? What's so interesting on PBS that we need to be, have two screens going? I'll sit in here and wait as I drink from my princess cup. Masterpiece Theater. Holy cow, One World. Oh my gosh. All right. Baldwin says Inter Miami is too new to have stars. There ain't no Miami Messi coming. No way. Right. So these players that they brought up, are they really going to have an impact? Is Ascona, Frey, Valencia, are they really going to have an impact? They're depth. They're clearly depth. Now, having said all that, I'm kind of leading the conversation down the path of saying that they're probably going cheap. And to some extent, they probably are. They didn't get the return on investment. So it makes sense. But these are, on the flip side, they're strictly depth. These are guys that, on the roster, some of our guys that would have only played 1 or 2 games a year. You're only coming in when somebody's hurt. So what's the harm, really? What's the harm in getting the youth in there and training and seeing if they do have some real potential? These guys don't cost really anything, so I guess it's a smart business move. So bring them in. They're not going to get a lot of playing time, but we do still need to add some players. And they also added Dylan Castaneda, 25-year-old goalkeeper from Fort Lauderdale. He did not come to the academy. He went from Fort Lauderdale CF, and now he's our third goalkeeper. So, third goalkeeper, what does that tell us, though? To me, that says John McCarthy is our starting goalkeeper for this upcoming season. So many people were wondering if we're going to bring in a goalkeeper, international goalkeeper. There's so many rumors about that. And interesting thing, Inter Miami, if you're watching, update your roster sheet page on your website. Still shows Robles. Still shows AJ De La Garza, Mikey Ambrose, Alvis Powell, Reyes, all these players, Ben Sweat. When you think about it, when I start reading through these names, Kiesewetter, we lost a lot of players. It's a lot of players we lost. Agudelo. It's a lot of players that are no longer with this team, and they still need to fill those spots. And these 3 players. Look, some of these guys might replace somebody like Mikey Ambrose, who saw very little playing time. So you could say Ian Frey, Mikey Ambrose. Mikey Ambrose, clearly more experienced player, scored a hell of a goal, but you're going to pay a lot more money for someone who doesn't really play much. So I might as well go with my boy from Coconut Creek. But anyways, John McCarthy looks to me to be your starting goalkeeper in the 2021 season. What do you think about that? He was okay, but I don't know if I have enough faith in him. Sorry, Peter, the new kid that's a goalkeeper is actually from the great state of New Jersey, Landing, New Jersey. Yeah, he may be from New Jersey, but he played for Fort Lauderdale CF. And, it's New Jersey. Is anybody proud of New Jersey? Eric, are you proud to be from New Jersey? I always hear about New Jersey just being dunked on all the time. I've never been. I don't know. It's called the Garden State, but everybody just bashes on New Jersey. It's like it's ugly or whatever. I don't know. It's called the Garden State. Must be decent looking, right? Tell me about it, Eric. I agree with Baldwin. McCarthy is okay, but just okay. And is just okay good enough? With the defense that we had, is okay just good enough? Who's going to play left back? Who's replacing Ben Sweat? All right, let's go to some voicemail because I think the voicemail is relevant.
Hey guys, this is Ted from Coral Gables, Florida. Coral Gables is right next to Miami. It's over there off of US 1. I'm not sure if you're familiar. But anyway, my question is, what kind of roster moves do they still need to make? Inter Miami, of course, is what I'm talking about. What kind of roster moves do they still need to make to be competitive this coming season? Because other than the star players who were okay, not spectacular last year, the role players were not very good at all. In fact, some of them were downright terrible. The amount of times that guys in the back would try to dribble out of the back, the defenders would try to dribble through players and then lose the ball, and then the other team had like an easy break on goal. That happened like 6 or 7 times last year. But anyway, there's only a couple of weeks. We got about a month before the next season starts, or maybe 2 months. Yeah, it's April, isn't it? So 2 months. They've got to sign. We lost Reyes, so we've got to sign a center back probably, or at least a right back, and probably a left back as well because Ben Sweat is gone, and that's probably a good thing because he was one of those players who tried to do crazy things in defense. Anyway, I'm kind of rambling now, but I just wanted to see what you guys thought about what players they needed to pick up. And also, I just wanted to say you guys are doing a great job. Bye.
I really appreciate Ted calling in and letting us know where Coral Gables is because, every time when I think of Coral Gables, I think of the Brazilian consulate because that's where it was. I don't know if it's still there. It's moved a couple times, but the Brazilian consulate, I've had to go there for getting a visa or something like that. So that's what I think of Coral Gables. But he talks about how, the lineup, the defense in particular. Look, we're going to probably have Figal playing right. He played right back a lot, although I think he played better in the center back alongside when we played like 4 in the back. I think he did better, but Figal and LGB start in center back, but there is depth. So I think Figal's, if they play, it depends on how they play. If they play 4 in the back, it'll be Figal and LGP in the middle. And then I got a feeling we could see Breck Shea playing in defense on the left. He's played that position for other teams. I think he's slipped back in that position for us a little bit last year. Although I found him much more exciting when he would press forward and so in that midfield role. But we definitely need some help there. And so Henderson's got to get busy. And I'll here's my thought. Could they decide to go cheap on these 3 or these 4 new players, right? 3 from the academy, 1 from Fort Lauderdale CF. Could they be deciding to go cheap on those players because they do not have as much cap space, right? Because Henderson is having to work with a team that he was left. And Paul McDonough kept talking about that they had a lot of cap space. They had a lot of TAM before the season started. We had a lot of TAM. And they kept using a lot of TAM. Well, they used a lot of TAM to get Blaise Matuidi, to get him in as a TAM player. So they used a lot of that money. How much TAM or GAM, just salary cap, how much money is there really available? So they may have to go cheap on these players. Now, obviously, they could have spent more because these players are replacing MLS quality, Alvis Powell type of players. that are making probably 100,000 or more. So these guys are definitely cheaper. So now they've built up a little bit of cash. So now they can go out and spend. Not necessarily a DP, but they can actually spend to get a MLS veteran or another foreign player that we just don't even know. Somebody that's not even on our radar yet. They surprise us. I mean, Reyes was never on our radar, but now we're going to have to play against Reyes, right? Hate when another MLS team gets one of your players. And while Reyes made some mistakes, he was pretty good. One World, One Goal says, exciting news. Beckham was the first guest for our Mayor Suarez's YouTube show called Cafecito Talk, and he said, all new commissioners on board, plus Beck said, I am here for long term. I did not watch that. I wanted to watch it, and I did not watch it. So I'm going to have to go back and check that out. But that's good to hear that Beck says he's here for long term, that, he's going to live in that nice apartment that he bought for a while, not just, Baldwin, yes. All commissioners are for Freedom Park. That is what he means. That's what she meant. So we're hoping all signs lead to voting yes for Miami Freedom Park. So, that's something that it seems to have stalled quite a bit, but you could blame COVID for some of that. But we know that Inter Miami had submitted some new paperwork some months back. I think it was in June or July. And we haven't heard a whole lot since that. But everything moves slow. I think somebody in here just mentioned Banana Republic. Footballer says, don't trust them. Miami Banana Republic politicians 100% agree. Everybody's looking to get their palm greased a little bit. But One World, One Goal does make a good point. There are definitely some new commissioners on board there, and we only need 4 out of the 5. So if they can convince the new people to get on board, maybe we can have a clean sweep. So where do you guys think? Where are the players going to come from? Are there any players that you think Inter Miami that are possibly available that Inter Miami should look at? Now, keep in mind, they also may be holding off because the CBA is still being negotiated. Because MLS, we talked about this a couple weeks ago, MLS invoked the force majeure clause, which means they are bringing the MLS Players Association back to the table to negotiate, to add, what MLS wants to do is add 2 more years to the agreement, pushes everything out, pushes it past the World Cup. MLSPA, they counter saying, we'll give you 1 extra year. So they want to negotiate literally right after the World Cup. MLS owners don't want to negotiate during the World Cup, right after the World Cup and all that. They want a little more space. I'm sure there is an ulterior motive behind that it's not just because, hey, it's convenient. I'm sure there's a financial reason behind that. I mean, these owners didn't get rich for nothing. So there's that. And so with an unsure, and I'm sure a lot of you saw that MLS sent out an email or to all their teams. ESPN reported on it that they were telling their teams to prepare for a lockout. And the agreement was they had, I think, was it 31st? I think it was today, the end of today, or was it Friday? Anyways, MLS added on an extra week to the deadline. The deadline was they had to have, they had to come to an agreement by this date, and if they didn't, that MLS was threatening to lock out the players. They did give them an extension, so that means they're negotiating. It sounds like they're still pretty far away, But the main argument, it seems to be that the amount of years of the agreement. Players Association wants fewer years, and MLS wants 2. They're basically saying the COVID-19 has affected 2 years of MLS, so we want to add on 2 years to the CBA, and teams may be wanting to wait to make any kind of big player moves. Season's supposed to start in April. Now we've got a date. It's supposed to start in April. Preseason, I think, starts February 22nd, something like that. So preseason should be starting real soon, and which is great. Well, we can, if it happens, if there is no lockout, and if it happens, hopefully we will get to see Edison Azcona, Ian Frey, and Felipe Valencia in the preseason, see how they look. So, all right, what are you guys talking about in the chat? One World says, it's weird. I don't know. I can see both sides, the players and the owner sides. Sure. Yeah, players want the best deal they can. They feel like they're getting screwed. Players were really turned off the way the negotiation went for this first CBA. Now they're going back to the table for third time in a very short period of time, in less than a year or something like that, or a little over a year. And they're not happy. They're really the relationship between the ownership group and the Players Association is rough. And when it gets really bad like that, a change needs to be made, right? That means maybe there an MLS change or an MLSPA change. I mean, there needs to be some sort of change that these guys have to work together. But I think in this situation, I tend to lean towards the owners. They're the ones putting up the money. They're the ones losing the money. Now, they say they lost $1 billion, but this adding 2 more years will only give them, I think it was somewhere around $100 million or something like that. That's it. So they're not making back $1 billion. They're making back pennies on the dollar, basically. But they're the ones putting up the money. They're the ones that are, and MLS is different than any other of these other leagues. They're different than the NFL and NBA and all that, where they have these massive TV deals. MLS's deal is not that big, so they really do rely a lot on their game day sales, ticket sales, and it hasn't been happening. So it's tough. It's tough. All right, so I could go on and on about that, but let's. I had another thought I wanted to get your opinion on after we answer some thoughts here. Strike or a lockout would be a killer. Yeah, that's a good question. What would that do to the league? Can a league like this survive? Well, footballer is saying, Peter, they did not lose $1 billion. It is the fact that they did not make $1 billion. But they made it sound like they lost instead. Hey, that's what they're claiming. I can only go by what they claim, and I tend to be on the side of management in this case, and the side of the ownership. Players, you don't have a lot of choice. You're in MLS. You're in a single entity league. I don't think you have much choice. Get in line, play. Otherwise, look, because think about a lockout and how that affects these guys. It doesn't affect somebody like Higuain or Pizarro as much, unless they're living large, unless they're living above and beyond their means, which is possible. But if they're living within their means, they should be fine. But what about these younger players? And I'm not talking about the youth players that we brought in. They're still living with their parents. But what about your journeyman players that may have a couple kids, but they're just MLS journeymen? Can they afford a lockout? What's going to happen to those guys? I think the ownership group really has them by the you-know-whats. I think they have to agree. They could push back and forth a little bit, but I think MLS is more going to get more of what they want than the Players Association. Now, of course, they'll meet in the middle. There has to be a meet in the middle situation, but I think it'll be more of the players having to give more than the ownership. It's my thought. But having a lockout, how do you convince foreign players to come play in your league? So we want to bring in some big name talent or something like that, or even medium level talent. If there's money available, how do you convince them to come and play in a league that may not play when they may not start the season as expected? Kind of hard to convince them. Baldwin says, everyone says players will just go overseas and sign elsewhere. I don't think they can or will. No. Look, there's a lot of MLS players that are now moving overseas more and more. A lot of young players. They were talking about that in the U.S. national team game. But not everybody can go over there. Interesting thing though, if they get locked out, the players are allowed to sign for another team. But there's an asterisk. So if it's locked out, they can go play for another team. But once the lockout is over, they have to report back to their MLS club because they're contractually obligated still. So whatever club would sign them would have to sign them knowing it's kind of a temporary deal and not knowing when that deal ends. You can't say it's going to be a month, it's going to be 2 months, because you don't know. How long is a lockout? So it's an interesting thing. It's like the players can do it, so MLS could say, well, the players can go. They can go. But nobody's going to really get no other team, I don't think, is really going to sign that contract with a player, not knowing how long they may or may not have that player. So another thought I had as I was perusing the internet, and I put this in the show notes. And this I know is a sticking point with some people in here. I know that Judge Dredd is always harping on or talking about jersey sponsors. Cafe Bustelo, right? Am I right? Am I right, Judge Dredd? You want Cafe Bustelo on there. And so I people were talking about the new jerseys online, and then people just started complaining about having a kit sponsor. And I also noticed that Austin has a kit sponsor with Yeti, Nike's national brand, and they also just signed a stadium deal. We have neither. So what is Austin doing that we're not? Are we asking for too much money? Or is somehow Austin more attractive than Miami? Come on now. That sounds silly as I'm saying it. So it's the argument kept going, people just wanting kit shirts, kit sponsors. And then some people online were back and forth. Other people saying, I don't want a kit sponsor. I don't want to be a walking billboard. I prefer to have a blank shirt. Now, I know most people I know want a kit sponsor. But why is it so important to have a kit sponsor for everybody? Why is it so important to walk around advertising Publix, Cafe Bustelo, whatever it is? Why is that so important to soccer fans? Is your team any less just because they don't have a jersey deal? If your ownership can afford to bring in their big name players and not have a jersey sponsor, let them, right? I mean, yes, Baldwin and everybody else, Moolah, somebody saying, Dan's saying, kit sponsor equals money. Of course, it equals money. But if they don't need it, they're doing just fine without it. If your club is delivering what you want them to deliver, if your club is going out and getting the players that you want them to get, and we can negotiate, we can argue if our team is getting the players that we want, right? Because last year didn't go so well. But if they don't necessarily need that cash influx, is it that important? See, I don't think your average soccer fan cares about the jersey deal because it's money, because you and I aren't getting the money. We're not getting any cash because because they get a shirt sponsor. It's not benefiting me any that they get a shirt sponsor. It benefits my club, and I'm happy for them, but it doesn't benefit me. So at the end of the day, why do I care? I know in our case, our shirt is so damn plain, the white one at least, the home jersey, is so plain that it needs a shirt sponsor. I get that. It needs it because it's so plain. All right, here we go. Jet Pancake is just saying jersey looks better. What happens when you turn into like NASCAR or the Mexican League? You know, you got tons of sponsors everywhere. So if you're just saying that if the argument is that the kit is too plain without a kit sponsor, why not just, let's say the team does not sign a kit deal. So let's say that 2021, there's no sponsor. I don't know that's going to happen or not, but as of right now, there's no sponsor, right? So let's say they go into 2021 without a sponsor. Why not just put Miami? Fusion did it. It said Fusion on the shirt. I wore it last week. Go watch that video. If we're just talking about filling up blank space, just put the city, the state, Herons. Can't just put Inter. But just a thought. So, I mean, me personally, I have no problem with the kit sponsor. I don't care one way or the other, to be honest. But fans, you guys, go crazy about kit sponsors. And I was just curious, why? Why do we care so much? Because it can't just be that it's blank space and we need to fill blank space. Because I could fill that blank space with something else other than Cafe Bustelo. Or I think somebody in here said they prefer Pilon. Both good coffees. What's your favorite coffee? I've been going with this donut blend. But it's like the cheap stuff from like BJ's. Big ass bag, you know? Been going with that. What's your favorite coffee brand? Coffee's big in South Florida, so, you know, coffee brand would make seem. Boriculana says it makes you seem legit. So you need to have a jersey sponsor just so you feel legit. If your owners are spending the money they need to spend to bring you the players that you need, then you're legit. A jersey sponsor does not make you legit. Championship makes you legit. Baldwin asks, does Miami FC have a front jersey sponsor? Yes, they do. They do. They have Hellbiz. Hellbiz is a scooter company. You know how downtown Miami and maybe even Fort Lauderdale, a lot of downtowns have those little scooters that you ride around all around town. Some people hate them because they're left everywhere. Hellbiz is a scooter rental that you can rent in Miami, and they are kit sponsors for Miami FC. Kevin Gonzalez adds to this. Let me turn this off here so we can see it. Peter, in addition to a kit sponsor, we also need a license plate. Orlando City already has a license plate approved by the state, and they have already taken pre-orders for the license plates. It's funny you say that. I said that just yesterday. I was driving around, and I think it was a Miami Heat license plate, I think. It was all black, and it had the logo on it. I think it was Miami Heat. And I said to my wife, how good would that look? All black with a Inter Miami logo on that. And I told her, I said, I might have to get one of those because, you know, those plates cost more. I've never had a vanity plate or any kind of extra cost plate. I just give me the old cheapo Florida State plate. It's good enough for me. Inter Miami plate, might have to get that. But now, so you're comparing it to Orlando. Orlando's been a team a lot longer, and they're just now getting it. Give us time. Give us time. But I would love to have a license plate. All right. One more one goal agrees with you, Kevin. And here we go. Inter Miami should get Peloton as their jersey sponsor, so when they start playing bad, they can just be called Pelotudos. I don't get it, but I don't speak Spanish, so I don't, But I'm sure it makes sense. But there are so many sponsorship deals that could happen. I mean, I keep thinking of local deals, but it really it'd probably be something international or national, right? I'm surprised that they haven't gotten a stadium deal. I expected that to have happened a long time ago. There was rumors a while back of it being Bacardi or something like that. There's so many cool sponsor deals, but I just was posing the question of why is it just so important to us as soccer fans? Why do we care so much? Are we so vain that we need someone else to validate us? We need some other people to say, you look legit because you have a jersey sponsor. Do we really need other people's approval? Is that what we're so shallow that we need someone else to tell us that we're doing well? Let the record speak for itself. Let's first build a good team, and who cares about everything else? Just build a good team. Now, I think it's a good idea to get a shirt sponsor because, as I said, the ownership may not need the money, but I'm sure they would this is a money-making venture for them, hopefully at some point, not just a losing venture, which soccer is usually a money-losing venture, but I'm sure they would like to make some money at some point. So, jersey sponsors. I'm just curious. If Austin did it, and I know Matthew McConaughey is part of Austin, and that helps, but hell, we have David Beckham. So my thought is they're probably just charging too much money. They've got these dreams that they want to be this international brand when they're not even a local brand yet. And that's a whole nother show. We've talked about it a little bit before, but One World, One Goal says, Peter, I hope they are not weighting the stadium name to that country because people don't like they hire Cuban doctors. You can't drink. No fun. Oh, I think you're referring to the airline from United Arab Emirates area. Yeah, I think that deal fell apart. It was worth a ton of money. Well, guys, I think I'm running out of steam. It's a lot of work to do the show when you're by yourself. Qatar, yes, it was Qatar. That was right. I said it was in that part of the country, part of the world. And I think that deal fell apart. It was supposed to be worth about $240 million, and I think that deal fell apart. Because nobody's flying, or at that time, nobody was flying. Boriculana is asking, are they pending a stadium deal because they want to move to a new stadium? Of course they want to move to the new stadium, but that doesn't mean that their training facility can't have a name as well. It just, you're going to maybe charge a little bit less money because that becomes Fort Lauderdale CF's home stadium. And look, they're going to be in Fort Lauderdale for a couple more years. 2, 3, 4 more years. These stadium deals are generally 5 years or less, I think. So, One World, One Goal is asking, what do you like about Higuain's signing brother? I like it. I think Federico Higuain is a good player and still can be a good player, and he looked good when he got on the field for the very little 4 games I think he played. Very little bit he played. But if we actually use a creative midfielder, he's the guy. It'll be interesting to see how this team plays under a new coach. It'll be interesting to see. But I think he is a quality player still and can play more minutes than he did. I mean, bringing him in the 85th minute is just dumb. He doesn't have time. And yes, Zapato, I ran out of steam a little bit. So, one footballer is saying it's nepotism. At the end of the day, if signing Federico makes Gonzalo score a bunch of goals, then it was worth it. And what's wrong with a little nepotism? What's wrong with that? It's not my money. It's not your money. Anyways, I think he's still a good player, and I mean he was a great player in Columbus, and I think he still has something. So Jose Velasquez is asking if they could sign with UKG. I mean, sure. All right, everybody. I think we're going to wrap up tonight's show. It was a lot of fun hanging out with you guys a little bit. It's a different ball game when you're doing it by yourself. So I appreciate everybody. And I pause once in a while because I'm reading your comments. So I appreciate everybody joining in and having fun with us tonight. And hey, celebrate that U.S. men's national team game 7-0. It's what they should do. And footballers calling me out for 9 minutes short. I wasn't even looking at the clock. I was not even looking at the clock. I was just looking at, look, I got nothing else to say. I got nothing else to say, guys. So thanks so much for joining. And it's I have fun doing this with you guys. But one thing we need is we need you guys to tell more people about our channel and bring more people into these in these live shows. They're fun, and they're more fun when more of you are a part of it. So share, like, share, and subscribe. Share. Some of you guys are some of our biggest promoters on social media, and we really appreciate it. And we need that. So if you enjoy this show, tell somebody about it, and let's get more people in the chat and having a lot more fun. But again, thanks everybody for hanging out with me tonight. And next week we will do it again, but Ed will be back. So thanks a lot, everybody. We'll see you next week. Bye.